Sometimes life really has a way of throwing curveballs that knock the wind right out of you. Picture this: a sprawling mansion sitting in silence once filled with laughter and love. Now it feels haunted by echoes of a life that used to be. That was my life. After losing Grace, the woman who stood by my side through every high and low. It's almost ironic, isn't it? Here I was, a millionaire CEO at the helm of Collins Tech. My world seemingly perfect, yet inside I was crumbling, haunted by grief and an unshakable sense of emptiness. People looked at me, they saw the suit, the wealth, and assumed I had it all figured out. But what they didn't know was that behind closed doors, I was battling the darkest parts of myself. I'd watched the world go by, wondering how I could feel so isolated even in a room full of people. And those whispers, those thoughts of inadequacy, they plagued me, replaying like a broken record in my mind, battling against the outer image of success. Then came that fateful trip to the cemetery. I thought a visit to Grace's grave might offer solace, but instead I stumbled upon two little girls, Anna and Mia, whose innocent plea brought a flicker of hope where I only saw shadows. Little did I know that single encounter would spark a chain of events that would not only reshape my understanding of family, but also reignite a purpose in my life I thought I had lost forever. From the moment Richard chose to take Anna and Mia home, his life spiraled into uncharted territory. Each evening brought waves of exhaustion, both emotional and physical, as he juggled board meetings and babysitting, each demanding a piece of his fragmented spirit. He thought of Grace, how she would have handled it all with grace, how she was the calm amidst the chaos. But now the silence in the mansion felt suffocating, a cruel reminder of her absence. One afternoon, tension peaked during a board meeting. Davidson, his trusted advisor, stood before the panel spinning tales of the company's future while Richard's mind betrayed him, racing back to the twins. Richard Davidson called out, snapping him back. "Are you listening? We have significant decisions to make." Richard noticed the smirks exchanged among the board members, their eyes gleaming with skepticism. "I'm listening," he shot back, his voice cold. Yet as his anger simmered beneath the surface, a darker truth began to unravel. Weeks later, he stumbled upon an unsettling report revealing Davidson's scheme exploiting Grace's charity for tax evasion using the very resources meant for families like Anna and Mia's. Richard felt as though the ground beneath him had vanished. How could Davidson, the person he respected, betray not only his wife, but her very legacy? "What do you mean? Taking advantage of Grace's work?" Richard spat during a confrontation. Later that week, fury and disbelief coursing through him. Davidson, unfazed, shrugged. "It's just business, Richard. This is how the world works." The cold reality struck hard. The betrayal wasn't just from Davidson. It was a betrayal of all he thought he knew about Grace. Every laugh they shared, every plan made in whispered tones, now felt like a lie wrapped in her love. Richard's stomach churned as he thought back to the girls, and the weight of his promises pressed heavily on his chest. It ignited a fire within him, a surge of protectiveness fueled by the realization that if he didn't fight back, their future would be yet another victim of exploitation. He would confront the corruption that devoured his wife's dreams. This wasn't just about business anymore, it was personal. As Richard stood on the precipice of a storm, the conviction settled in his bones he would not back down. You know, I thought taking those girls in would be a breeze. Just a simple act of kindness, right? Boy, was I wrong. It was like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the manual lots of confusing pieces and a big looming possibility that I'd end up with a coffee table instead of a bed. I quickly realised I was in over my head. After a few weeks of caring for Anna and Mia, the reality set in. The girls weren't just looking for someone to feed them and help with homework. They needed stability, and here I was, Mr. CEO, juggling board meetings, stock prices, and my own catastrophic emotional baggage. I could practically hear Grace's laugh echoing through the halls of that empty mansion as I stumbled frying pancakes. If only they could run a company, she'd say, then you'd really see chaos. Every day was a whirlwind. I'd picked them up from school, but instead of sweet little High Richard S., I was met with silence, a glaring reminder that I was failing even before I started. I remember that time I tried organising a family outing, thinking some laughter would do the trick. Instead, I spent half the day stuck in traffic listening to Frozen on repeat, my heart sinking deeper with every lyric about finding one's true home. Thanks, Disney. And then when I heard Angela was in critical condition, that was it. That moment was like the universe shoving me into an icy lake. I gasped and flailed, wondering if I'd ever find a way to swim back to the surface. The weight of that promise I made to the girls settled in like a brick in my stomach. Keep them safe. How could I do that when my own world felt like a house of cards ready to collapse? But sometimes in the thick gloom of despair, the tiniest spark of determination flickers to life. I let the doubt wash over me, but I vowed to fight through the fog. Maybe I didn't know how to be a father, but I was damn well going to try. After all, when you've got two little girls looking at you like you're their superhero, you'd be surprised how many times you can dust yourself off, even when you feel like you're stumbling up a very steep hill in flip-flops. Richard's heart raced. The betrayal cut deep. It was the kind of pain that paralyzed. He leaned against the cold wall of the boardroom, every breath echoing his doubt. Had he really known Grace? Or was he just a man wrapped in the fabric of her brilliance? His mind teetered. But in that suffocating silence, something flickered. A soft voice chimed in a memory of Grace. You can't stop fighting for what's right, Richard. The thought was a spark. Richard lifted his gaze, staring into the faces around him. Davidson smirked, a predator in a tailored suit. The weight of despair struggled against the rising fire within. No more. It was time. Standing taller, he found his voice. You think I'll let this continue? You think I'll stand by while you exploit the very legacy my wife built? The room shifted. A ripple of surprise danced among the investors. He felt the resolve boiling over, fueled by the faces of Anna and Mia, innocent yet fierce. I refuse to let her memory rot under your greed. In that moment, he wasn't just Richard Collins, the grieving husband. He was an advocate, a protector. His heartbeat matched the pace of his racing thoughts. Each word became a hammer striking against the wall of indifference. Transparency, accountability, hope. And the room began to change, cracks forming in the facade of power. As he made his promises, real promises, to take care of Anna and Mia, he saw something shift in their eyes. For the first time in years, he felt alive, the shadow lifting. This fight wasn't just for Grace. It was for every soul touched by her kindness, every life he could change. With each revelation he unveiled, each secret he exposed, he felt the weight beginning to lift. Dark clouds of doubt began to part, revealing a path filled with light. He was unstoppable. The burning power of determination surged through him, a force that would bring down walls and rebuild a legacy worth fighting for. And in that boardroom, Richard Collins discovered the strength he thought he'd lost forever. Shh. Voiceover, script, revenge, resolution. The boardroom was filled with palpable tension, a sea of expectant faces and whispers laced with doubt. Richard stood at the front, his presence both commanding and vulnerable. Drawing in a deep breath, he began to speak the weight of Grace's legacy, resting firmly on his shoulders. Today we stand not just as a corporation, but as a community, he declared, each word resonating with the strength of his journey. As he unveiled the truth about Davidson's corruption, the room shifted, shock morphing into support allies emerging from unexpected corners. The press conference that followed was electric, the air crackling with anticipation. Richard's voice rang clear, a blend of fury and unwavering resolve, as he peeled back the layers of deception. Grace was never just a name on a plaque, he proclaimed. She was a beacon for those with nowhere to turn. The headlines that splashed across newsstands the next day told a story of betrayal and heroism, of a CEO who discovered the depths of his late wife's generosity and inspired a collective reckoning. In the quiet aftermath of applause, Richard found solace in an unexpected place, cooking pancakes with Anna and Mia, their laughter ringing like music through the once silent halls of his home. Each joyous moment with them, each playful grin shared, softened the jagged edges left behind by grief. He marvelled at how they filled his life with colour. The mansion thrummed with warmth where emptiness had once lingered. Yet amidst the joy, Richard bore the scars of loss, a reminder that success doesn't erase suffering, it transforms it. With every glance at Grace's picture on the mantel, he felt her presence, her spirit guiding him into this new chapter. He had fought not just for a company, but for a family, proving that the connections we forge can light the way through our darkest nights. As he watched Anna and Mia build their dreams, he realized this was not the end of his journey, but the beginning of a new legacy. As I look back on this journey, I realize how profoundly I've changed. I entered as a man cloaked in the shadows of grief, consumed by the power and loneliness that wealth can bring. The truth I uncovered about Grace and the world around me reshaped my understanding of trust and betrayal. I expected her to be a paragon, but learning about her hidden acts of kindness was both a revelation and a betrayal that forced me to confront my own assumptions. I learned that with power comes a responsibility that stands far removed from the ambition that usually drives it. It's easy to assume that revenge is a form of justice, yet I found that building a legacy rooted in love and care has far more lasting impact. In a world that often champions vengeance, I must ask, is revenge truly justifiable, or does it simply perpetuate a cycle of pain? It is a question that divides opinions and ignites debates. Some will argue that justice served in vengeance might taste sweeter, while others will contend that compassion is the only path to true justice. As I stand before you witnessing the joy in the faces of Anna and Mia, I can affirm love is a mission that never ends, even in the face of betrayal. Our stories intertwine in unexpected ways. Reflecting on your own experiences, what does justice mean to you? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear your stories and insights in the comments below.